Are we having a rave today? Is that what we're doing with the house music?
So I have to admit, we can't. It appears that we are not going to be able to use the same music that we were before because YouTube hates us. So I had to use generic music, and hopefully, you guys can suffer through the 30-second intro that is now probably going to be the intro music going forward. I'll still probably switch it up, but now I forgot what I was going to ask you. I did actually. Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to say hello, Dr. Dieter, and I wanted to ask you: is it weird to you if people call you Dr. Dieter? Does it sound weird, or is it like it doesn't even phase you anymore? Did it ever sound weird?
No, I mean it is weird though, because I spent a big chunk of my life like in formal academia where like every day people called me Dr. Dieter. But
Gotcha.
it doesn't matter to me. Although some of my athletes will call me Dr. Brad, which is really weird because like in like social media world, whenever people refer to me, it's usually like Dr. Brad, it's never Dr. Dieter, which is strange.
I have one more thing before we move on. I came up with another poem for you.
Oh God.
Are you ready for it?
No,
Okay,
but hit me with it.
This poem. Do you remember what the old one was called?
No, it was like 10,000 something.
Yeah, it was 10,000. Yeah. So I have a new poem. It's, in my opinion, it's a lot better than the other one. This one's called 20,000.
I think you already used this joke on like the second day that you followed up.
No, I've only used 10,000. This is 20,000.
Let me guess.
All right. I want to actually.
Speaking of Dylan doing weird things, do you remember when I came to Rochester, excuse me, and we played basketball and you got just absolutely demolished?
I remember. Yeah, I do remember that.
That my segue to that is Dylan could use coaching in basketball. So today we're going to be talking about why coaching works.
Remember the movie Me, Myself, and Irene?
Yes, I do. I have not seen it in a long time, and I think I was like half paying attention when I watched it, but yeah.
There's a part in there where they have to push a car off a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
And so Jim Carrey's character with Renee Zellweger's character, they're about to push the car. And he's like, all right, on my count. Ready? No, I'm sorry. I messed it up. He goes, all right, we're going to push on 9. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And they start pushing. And I want that to be my countdown from now on. I'm going to start telling people we're going to go on 9, and then I'm just going to count really fast. Thanks for bearing with us, guys. All right, we should probably get on with it. We actually have a fantastic episode on board, on tap, whatever you want to say, about why coaching works. Now, before anybody jumps to conclusions, I want to make this clear. My intention with this is not trying to sell you guys anything. This isn't going to be one of those episodes where it's like, go get a coach. In fact, we've never done an episode like that. But I did think it was important to highlight some actual, we're going to go through some statistics about people's success rates with coaching, the psychology behind it, the benefits, and then you guys can do with that information what you will and make decisions from there. But being in the coaching business, there are, we have a lot of insights that people on the outside do not have. So my hope with this episode is that it at least gives you more of a glimpse into what we do, how coaching can benefit you. And if you do decide to take the plunge, go for it. And if you don't, that's okay too. It's really more of an educational piece that I'm going for. So we can just start, and we'll start by explaining, because there's different, we could define coaching just overall as like, just broadly, like what does coaching mean? Because there's different types of coaching, but specifically what we do is nutrition and fitness coaching. And by that, we could even take that a step further. And it's really a lot of a lot of behavior-based coaching, behavior and habit building. We really take a deep dive into your life. So when people hear nutrition coaching, they think, oh, you're going to tell me what to eat and this and that. It's like, it's way deeper than that. So, but first and foremost, excuse me, what coaching is not is, it's not, at least the way we do it, it's not someone who berates you. It's not someone who acts like a drill sergeant and tells you, do this, do this, do this. And what coaching is good guidance from excellent guidance from an expert, someone who can provide the accountability people are looking for, a different perspective. And I know Brad's probably going to have a lot of coaching analogies that are probably akin to basketball, but I think like a basketball coach is a good example. The players show up every day to practice, to be coached, so that the coach can say, here's something you need to work on this. You're not doing this correctly, try this instead. Like, that's kind of a good coach is the one who can see your blind spots and your weaknesses and help you build those up so that those are no longer weaknesses. A good coach is that for you, rather than someone who's just, like I said, just a drill sergeant. So I'll let you kind of define how do you define coaching? I just define it as someone who is there to build you up. If I had to put it succinctly, it's someone who builds you up and helps you improve the skills that you need to improve and just become better at what you're trying to do. Lots of different ways to do that, but how do you define coaching, Bradley? I can't hear you.
I think it's less of how you define it and more of how you think about coaching and what it is. I mean, if you kind of dissect the answer you gave, you can break it into kind of two pieces. There's like the information transfer or the education piece. And then there is, how do you get someone to do what they should be doing to get to where they want to go? And so I think a lot of times people think that coaching is the information transfer. Like, I just give you information. So like the best example is I just give you a meal plan, right? Giving our clients information or engaging in information transfer is like the entry level basic 101, like not even 101. It's like the remedial class you have to take to get into 101 coaching. Like,
Right.
While that is part of the coaching process, it's not really coaching, and it's not what creates like meaningful change. And so, like, if you think about when you were coaching and you pay attention to the clients you have and their results, like, you kind of know this is true, right? We have more information now than we've ever had. You can you can download ChatGPT on your phone, ask any question. It's going to give you the answer 99% of the time. It's going to be right. But what really happens is clients don't know what to do with information, and they don't know what's the right thing to do. And they don't know how to do that consistently in their real life under stress. And so, like, really good coaching at the heart of it is behavior change. Like, you're not just giving your clients macros, workouts, or, answering their question about fiber recommendations or how do I reduce my risk for heart disease. It's, you kind of help them build new patterns. And what you're doing is you're teaching your clients how to act on their goals in the face of like fatigue, distractions, craving, chaos, stress. Like, that's the real work of coaching, right? It's, you basically say, okay, coaching involves a skill set. However, to be successful within a specific domain of coaching, you need domain specific knowledge, right? So if I was a business coach, I would need to understand how to get my clients to engage in behavior change, but I also need the domain specific knowledge to know what are the areas in my client's business that they need to focus on, right? Is it my sales process? Is it my marketing process? Is it, I got to figure out like the operations? Is it, I got to figure out manufacturing? Like, what is the bottleneck? And so when you think about like nutrition coaching and fitness coaching with our clients, that's what we do. We have domain specific knowledge to help isolate the major levers that our clients need to pull. And every client's a little bit different. But the real skill and art of coaching comes into how do we take that information and get them to consistently behave in a manner that solves that problem for them, and then we move on to the next problem.
You know what I think is I don't think the majority of the population thinks about coaching at all. Like, I think it's severely lacking in our society. Don't you think? Like, you never, outside of our circles, you don't hear about people saying, I hired a coach for this. I hired a coach for that. Like, that's just not something that people seem to do very often. And I think that is a reflection, it is a reflection of the things that we value. And to me, it's pretty clear that there are a lot of people who don't value having a coach because they've just never thought of it that way. Like, it's so I think
Yeah.
it is how we think of it.
I mean, I think it comes down to we've been sold this idea that if I have the information, I have everything I need.
Exactly.
And like that's just not the case, right? It's super true if you just think about, like, let's just take a sports analogy. When you watch a professional play a sport, you have all the information you need, right? Like, you know what to do. Like, you can watch them. If you watch 2-3 hours of film, like, you would know what you need to do in a situation. But like, developing the skills and the tools and the muscle memory and the decision-making ability of like how to make the right decision in the moment and process information correctly, that takes a lot of time, and that takes somebody giving you objective feedback, right? It's one of the like most basic examples of this and how you can kind of translate it out into your real life is think about when you were learning how to squat and you just like grabbed the bar, put it on your back and sat down. Like, you felt like you did a squat. You're like, okay, cool, I can do a squat. But then if you look in the mirror, you're like, oh, this looks weird, but you don't know exactly why it looks weird because it doesn't look like the people you watch on TV. And then you have a coach come in and he like points out all these little things. And then over the course of weeks, you adjust all these little things about your squat mechanics and your patterns, and you squat better. Extrapolate that out to like everything in your life. We are really bad at having objective assessments of our own lives and behaviors. Like, food logging is a great example. Most people underreport their food intake by like up to 50%. And that's when we ask people to track their food, right? So it's like, that's a relatively simple thing. Now, if you try to like audit your daily behaviors, thought processes, self-talk, decision-making, like all those things, unless you have someone who can help you understand that and give you an objective lens and ask you the right questions, it's going to be really hard to make behavior change.
Yeah, and I just think it just comes down to the way we think about it. One of the points that we'll talk about a little bit later is maybe some of that is also it's people have this perception that it's a sign of weakness or something, maybe, to have a coach, or they don't want to concede that they could use the help. That might be part of it too, but so who benefit, like in terms of who can benefit from coaching, I don't know that there's anybody that couldn't in some way, shape, or form. Michael Jordan,
I would say,
I was using.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest basketball player ever, had a coach. Tiger Woods has a golf swing coach. Like, Tiger Woods should know how to swing a club, but he's still got a coach, like a forum coach. So like even the best of the best have coaches. So that's why I kind of think, is there anybody that wouldn't benefit or couldn't? Like, I don't think there is.
I think there is a set of people who would not benefit from coaching, and it's the people who are not in a place to be coached. Like, there's sometimes there's periods of your life. This applies to everybody. There's periods of your life, or there's things going on where like you are mentally in a space where you just cannot be coached, right? Some of us are in that for our entire lives. Some of us go through seasons where we're just not in a place to be coached. But like, I think if you try to force coaching on somebody who's not ready for it, you just shouldn't do it.
But that's also like saying that if you're in that sort of space, you need help to get out of it. So you could benefit from coaching. You know what I'm saying?
If you are open to it.
Of course, you have to be open-minded to it, and you have to be open to it. But once you are,
yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, when we say everybody would benefit from coaching, yes, with the asterisk of you have to be in a space where you're open to being coached and receiving feedback, right? Like,
yeah.
Think about 16-year-old angry at the world Dylan, whose dad was trying to give him life advice, and you're like, Dad, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. Right? Like, nothing your dad would have said to you in that place, like, would you have listened to and done anything with?
Yeah, it would have fallen on deaf ears. So I do get your point. I agree.
Yeah. No. Yeah. But that's to say, like, if you want to make progress, you have to be open to feedback.
Yeah. So when was the last time you had a coach for anything, just out of curiosity?
Probably like a year and a half ago. Well, that's not true. I met with my financial advisor on Monday.
Okay.
He's a financial coach.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of what we talk about is like behavior around money. Like we talk about like diversification and like how we're bucketing assets with like taxes and retirement, all that stuff. But a lot of it's like, okay, like let's talk about the behavior around money. What are we doing right now? What's important to you? Like, are you allocating the money in the way that you feel intentional? Like those are the conversations that we have. So that's definitely coaching.
So out of all the coaches you've ever had in your life, right? When we broaden that term and not just talking about like a sports coach, just anybody that you would consider a coach in some way, shape, or form, who was your favorite and why were they your favorite? Like, what did they do for you that makes you say they were your favorite you've ever had? What were the qualities of that person?
So I've told this story before, and I would say my favorite coach is the one who impacted my life the most. And it was my high school basketball coach. And it's because for a couple of reasons. One, he was the first person to like really just give me the hard feedback that I needed in my life. Right? Of like, you are literally the words, you are not good enough yet, was what I needed to hear at that phase of my life. The other reason is
this sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. The other reason is when somebody demands more of you than you think you're capable of for the first time in your life and you get there, it basically opens up, as long as you're open to it, it shows you that all of the limitations that you have on yourself are all just bullshit. Right? So it's like, oh, this is what I thought my ceiling was. Somebody's like, no, you can do more than this. I expect more out of you. And you're like, I can't. And then you just like keep going and eventually you get there. You're like, oh, well, that was all like a self-limiting belief. And the first time that you experience that, you can either be like, oh, I did it and I'm done. Or you can take it and be like, oh, well, if I did that once, I can just keep doing it.
So what was it that you feel like after that happened, what did he do for you personally to help you level up, to get to the point where you had risen to his expectations, you became better? Or was it was that singular thing that he mentioned that then drove you to keep working at it?
Well, it's just the repeated, like, I expect more. I expect more. I expect more. And also like then giving you the tools to get there. Not just like, hey, I expect more, go figure it out. But it's like, hey, I expect more. Here's how we're going to get there. Hey, I expect more. Here's how we're going to get there. And so I think it's this constant just like carrot stick.
Right. So
at least for me, that's my personal thing. Now, coaching, like the way that we do coaching is much different than that. But like you said, like, what was it that really made it? And that's kind of it.
Well, and what I was going to mention in what you just said was, if this is what he demanded of you, or he demanded more and then gave you the tools to get there, what we do is, and this is why in our line of work, the client and coach relationship and communication is so important, because if your coach says, here's what I demand of you, here's what I need from you, and here are the tools to do it, the other side of that is, our clients, they need something from their coach as well. And to say, okay, if I'm going to, hey, I'm struggling with this, I don't think I'm good enough here. Here's what I need from you as my coach. Can you provide this? Can we? So I think really the best coaches are the ones that have that sort of that transactional relationship where they demand a lot of you, but they give you the tools, and then they can adapt to what you need, what your goals are. What do you need from me as your coach to help you get to where you want to go? So that's obviously the other side of this. As as CEOs, talking about running a business, CEO, COO, anybody that is in sort of that level, even those people, like have you ever had a business coach?
Not like formally,
Not in that sense. Okay.
but
Yeah, I
I've
was
had
just
a lot
curious.
of like colleagues who are entrepreneurs who have like gone through the same thing, and we've like, had set meetings where we've done like quasi coaching. It wasn't like, hey, here's your coaching program.
Yeah.
I pay you money. I meet with you every week.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, and so I think there is. It's one of these. It's one of those things where there's this misconception of, if I go out and get a coach, like, it must mean that I'm not able to do this myself. It's a sign of weakness, or that, hey, I should be able to do this on my own, or I just need to do better, or this idea that in our line of work, if you've been tracking macros for a while and you've lost a lot of weight, it's like, well, I've already done this on my own, so I probably don't need a coach. Coaching is for people who are just starting out, right? None of those things are true. And what's interesting to me is, I've seen people come in we've had like fitness pros become clients. We've had complete beginners become clients, and anywhere in between. So it just goes to show you that coaching can be beneficial to anybody, and there's always something you can learn something from everybody. And I think the people that recognize that and say, I just want to learn something from this person because I want to grow and I think they can help me. I think that's a powerful thought process, and would allow people to, if we had that mindset more, then I think we would be able to, I think we could improve ourselves a lot better. But one of the things that I will come to you randomly throughout the week, and I'll be like, hey, you got 5 minutes? Like, hey, give me your opinion on this. Hey, I'm putting this together. Like, what do you think? And I'll ask for your feedback. And that applies to not just business, but so many things. And I just think if people were open to that sort of feedback, it would be really beneficial. And I think, how you mentioned ChatGPT and how we have access to information more than ever. What's funny to me is, I saw a meme not long ago that talked about when the internet became available, humanity thought, hey, we're not going to be stupid anymore. We're not going to be a stupid species. Like, there's going to be everyone's going to know the truth of everything. That didn't help. Now the age of AI is here, and you can ask AI anything and get the accurate answer. People are still, that hasn't really changed either. So I guess the point I'm making is, when you try to do things on your own, what ends up actually happening is not, more often than not, we aren't trying to seek the ultimate truth. We're trying to confirm our own bias. You know what I'm saying? Like, when we do it on our own, and then you have a coach, your bias is not confirmed, and you're presented with something else that's like, oh, okay, so that's where I need to grow. But if you do it on your own, you are just more subject to trying to confirm your own bias than not. Does that make sense?
I mean, I think there's more layers to that. And these are lessons that I've had to learn. One is, for some reason, most people have this weird innate feeling of my result will be better, more powerful, and I'll feel like I earned it more if I do this all alone by myself. It's like, it's this weird thing that we all kind of feel, but the reality is that's not true at all, right? Accelerating your progress because you don't have to make the same mistakes that somebody else made doesn't make your results any worse or less valuable. The only thing it does do is it allows you to live more of your life on the other side of the success that you wanted than on this side of it.
Right.
And so what you're actually doing is you are forsaking your future self for a little bit of pride in the current moment.
Right.
So that's one thing. The other thing is, and I know this, but I still haven't like internalized this, is suffering is an invisible badge that we wear that no one cares about. Like, a lot of people will be like, they take pride in the fact of how difficult or how much they suffered to get to something. And the reality is you're the only one who sees it and no one cares. Like, it doesn't give you any more street cred in life if your journey was harder than anybody else's. Now, maybe you want to live the life of like, hey, I'm the best version of myself because I suffered immensely. It's like, well, okay. But again, as long as you learn the lessons, they don't have to be the hardest lessons you've ever learned.
Yep. That's a great point. And I think that's something, well, we'll touch on that a little bit, but I think, yeah, no, I think that's a great point. If we dive into, if we talk about getting into the benefits of all this and the way, in addition to the value of coaching, the value of having a coach, how we can benefit from it and why it works. I think some of the points that I want to make to people are really just the first and foremost, having the accountability for a lot of people, especially the people that I talk to and see talking to my team a lot, is, hey, I need the accountability. I need to have someone check in with me. I need to have guidance. I need the feedback. I need my coaches, insights into, show me what I'm doing wrong. Those things are extremely beneficial. I want to hear what you think the benefits are of coaching. To me, it's the guidance, it's the education. Some of that's the accountability. You can gain a lot of confidence from coaching. You can adapt with your coach. You can adapt to everything that happens in your life with a coach. The whole point is to learn how to do this in life, which is a dynamic place. So like, there's just, the benefits are so innumerable. It's hard for me to potentially list them all. I guess let's just go top 3. Why should people get a coach? Let's just say in our line of work, and you have to tell them in 3 benefits. What would be the top 3 for you on here's why? For some reason, I can't hear you again. I don't know if it muted.
The first reason I would say is having someone who can, from the right place, be completely objective with you about your behaviors is one of the most valuable things you can spend any money on.
The unbiased perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. The second piece is hiring a coach who's got good soft skills, but also the domain specific knowledge to keep you from making mistakes you don't have to make. Like, let's say, just to make a business analogy, let's say you wanted to build a company that was worth $100 million. And you knew that you had to make 10,000 decisions to get there, 10,000 right decisions to get there. And for every 10 decisions you make, 9 are wrong and 1 is right. So now you have to make 100,000
100,
decisions
yeah.
or 90,000, whatever the math works out, to actually get to your goal. Now imagine if you had a coach who's like, hey, I've done this before and I can save you from making 4, 5 out of those 9 wrong decisions. So now you've cut the time and the decision making in half. It's the same thing with like a health and fitness journey. If we can prevent you from making the mistakes that we've made or our previous clients have made, the stress, anxiety, and time is going to be much less to get to your goals.
That's
and then
a great analogy.
The last reason, the last of these 3 is, and I think this is maybe the most important, I don't know. The average person is not going to have the goals that you have. And so most people aren't going to understand why you're doing what you're doing. Your coach is somebody who you can have these conversations with and they get it.
Because they know why. Yep.
Like for about 15 years, nobody in my family was like, why are you getting up at 4 a.m. to go to the gym? Why are you working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week? Like they just didn't get it. And so I had nobody to talk to. But when you have a coach who's like, oh, I get it. Yeah, this is normal. This is fine. What you are doing is the right thing. And I think having somebody who understands why you're doing what you're doing in your corner that you can talk to also keeps you on the path and keeps you from going back into the like normal population of people who just don't get it.
Man, that really is a great point. And I can see why you think that might be the most important, because it's funny because we do get a lot of people that'll say, I have no support system at home. My spouse isn't supportive. My brother or sister isn't supportive. My, whatever. It's like,
but I think it's also unfair to ask them to do that, because you can't ask them to change their view of the world to fit your new view of the world. You have to go find someone who understands what you're trying to do and have that relationship with them as a coaching relationship. And maybe the rest of your family will get it and get on board. But forcing them to do that, it's not fair.
Well, I also think, and I don't even think you need to, it's not really about convincing them to trying to make them understand you. It's really just like, hey, here's what I'm doing, and here's why I'm doing it, and you can either like understand it or not, like, but I'm doing it. Like, so that's, you just leave it at that. Like, here's what you can either support me or not, but here's what I'm doing and why. And I don't expect you to understand, and you don't have to. Like, but here it is.
I'm gonna do what I do.
Yeah, I mean, who cares? So I wrote down, I do want to go through some, we'll dive into the psychology of why coaching works. And then I want to share some statistics with everybody, because I wrote down some stuff that I'll kind of read here that I think really highlights why coaching can be so powerful. So, like I said, I'll just read some of this stuff here. The behavior science of coaching, the power of external accountability and self-determination theory. So when someone's watching and when we have to report back to someone, we're far more likely to follow through. That's not just motivation, it's behavioral reinforcement. Coaching taps into 2 crucial drivers from self-determination theory. Competence, clients get better, see progress, and feel capable. Relatedness, there's connection and support, making the journey less isolating. It's actually 3 of them. And autonomy. The best coaches don't dictate, they collaborate, which builds ownership, right? So ownership of your goals. We're doing this together. I think that's a very important part. So instead of relying on willpower, coaching creates structure, support, and a feedback loop that fuels sustainable change. Cognitive bias disruption. Coaches challenge blind spots, we talked about that, and default thinking. Most people don't fail because they lack information. They fail because they're stuck in their own mental loops. Coaches help break these loops. So, for example, confirmation bias. We believe something like carbs make me fat, so we only look for evidence that confirms it. We talked about that a little bit ago, too. A coach can step in and say, let's actually look at the data. And then all or nothing thinking. Clients often go from perfect tracking to completely quitting. Coaches reframe this as always something beats all or nothing. So consistency over perfection. By regularly talking through thoughts and patterns, coaches help reprogram the narrative that keeps clients stuck. And the last part here, dopamine and reward cycles, how coaching builds positive momentum. Behavior change is hard, in part because we don't get immediate rewards. But when you work with a coach, the feedback loop shrinks. You get positive reinforcement faster, daily or weekly check ins that trigger a little dopamine spike. This builds a cycle: action, feedback, win, motivation, repeat. So over time, that becomes identity based change. You go from trying to be healthy to I'm someone who takes care of myself. So those are the notes that I wrote down. I just thought that all of those points were very valid and kind of summarizes like just the psychology behind why what we do really does work, and kind of summarizes everything we kind of just talked about anyway, right? Anything that you wanted to add to that? Any points you liked out of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, if we take a lot of the psychology language and concepts and really boil it down to like a few more colloquial ideas, a few of the most important things that we do as coaches is we help clients reframe and shift their identity and the identity they give themselves. So a lot of times when a client comes in, the view of they have of themselves and the identity they have of themselves is, I am someone who struggles with being consistent. I can't do this. I always fail. I always have to, like start over, whatever. So they have this identity of like, I'm inconsistent. And then what we do as coaches is we give them these like small structured goals. We give them tools. We give them accountability. We give them all these things. And we show them that, no, actually, your identity is, I am capable. I am consistent. I am aligned with the life I want to live. And so we help them with that identity shift. And I think that's like, if you take all those things you just mentioned and like bring those to a head, like that's really what we're doing. And then the next thing is we teach people they can trust themselves. I think a lot of times when people start coaching, especially with us, is they have this like almost this self-talk / narrative and this way of living in the world in which they don't feel like they can trust themselves to make the decisions they want to make to reach their goals. And so when we can show people over time, like, no, actually, you have the skills and the tools, and you have the capacity and ability to make decisions that align with what you want, we actually give people kind of that view of like, oh, I am actually who I want to be, and I have control over this. And I think that's a huge part of what coaching actually does. Like, I can assign you macros, calories, perfect training plans, but what I'm really trying to do is show you that you are the person who, when the travel plans go to shit and you're tired and you don't want to go to the gym, you actually are the person who can trust themselves to go to the gym even when they don't want to, and eat the food that they should be eating even when they don't want to. And that's like one of the most important parts of coaching.
I'm pretty sure you and I have talked about this on previous episodes. Because I don't remember which one it was, but it was basically the identity part when we label ourselves as a certain thing, but if we reframe it, we can like we don't allow ourselves to become that identity. So for example, it's when you say, if you say I am stressed, that's different than saying, well, I'm not stressed. I'm feeling stressful.
I'm experiencing stress.
Right. Yeah. I'm not depressed. I am having I'm having depressing thoughts or depressing, I'm in a depressed mood, but I'm not depressed, right? Like, so just, I think reframing that sort of thinking is kind of falls into some of that, just the identity thing, right? Because it's like, what do you believe about yourself? That has a huge impact on the way you behave and the way you go about your life. So that can be a big key there. Anything else you want to add to that? I was going to go over some of the statistics and rates about.
As we're talking about this, it reminded me of there was a book that was really popular a long time ago. This was probably 20 years ago. It was called A Million Little Pieces, I think. And it was
Yeah, I've heard that.
basically
Yep.
the story of this guy who was a drug addict and ended up in rehab
Yep.
and whatever. And the end of the book is, and I think it was like supposed to be based on a true story, but was embellished. But anyway, at the end of the book, the guy gets out of rehab. And like the first thing he does is he goes to a bar and he sits down and he orders a drink. And he sits there and he decides not to drink it. And he did that because he was like, I don't want to live the rest of my life avoiding this and trying to figure out if I am the type of person who can trust myself. Let's just see if I can trust myself immediately. Now, obviously, that's not life advice. Don't go do that. But like, that's when we talk about coaching, is like, that's what we're trying to instill in our clients, is this like intense level of self-trust of like, yep, you got this. Like, this is you now. You are the type of person who makes the decision that aligns with your goal, even when all of this like chips are stacked against you.
Do you know who Wayne Dyer is?
That name sounds familiar.
He's he was, I believe he passed, but he was a motivational speaker who I just remember there was a clip I heard from him where he was like, he was basically telling the audience that if you behave as the person you want to become, like, in other words, if you think about what behaviors and habits would the person that I want to become be doing right now, and you go and do those things, even if you're pretending, if you pretend long enough, that eventually becomes you. Like, so just, I thought it was really important I thought his point about, even if you're like engaging in behaviors and habits that feel contrary to who you are, even if you're doing those things because you believe that those things are things the person you want to become would do, then it's a matter of time before that just becomes who you actually are, because eventually you're just doing it autonomously. It is now a habit and behavior. What started off as pretend behaviors and you're just forcing yourself to do it eventually are now automatic behaviors, and now you are that person that you wanted to be. So his whole point was, do the things that you think you should be doing, that the person you want to become would be doing, and the attainment of your goal is inevitable. So just
the thing
behave
is,
as if you were already that person.
yeah, the thing is too, like, if you do that behavior once,
You're making it easier for,
well, in that moment, you are the person you want to become.
right. That's what I'm saying. Exactly. Even
And
if
so
you're
I
pretending.
think, yeah, I mean, one of the best quotes that I've read, and maybe this just affirms my bias about how the world works, is, you don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. And so I think when you have accumulated enough bona fides within yourself that you are who you say you are, then you are who you say you are. Like, you don't have to tell yourself you are something. You just know you are something.
Yeah. Should we move on to some statisticos?
Fine. Give me your numbers.
So I just wanted to highlight some of the data and success rates for anybody who's like, well, actually, before I go into that, let me also just tell you, I made a post in our Facebook group not long ago, and I was basically like, hey, listen, I can't guarantee that if you get a coach, you're going to be successful. I can't guarantee that, because a guarantee means you are 100% going to accomplish this, this, and this, or 100, right? I can't guarantee with 100% certainty. But what I love and what's amazing is, if you go look at our reviews online, there's a website called Reviews.io. If you Google it, you'll find us on there. And we're over 1,100 reviews. It's not 100% satisfaction, it's 97%. So what I told people in the group was, listen, if I could say that you are 97% likely to be satisfied with a coach, don't you still like those odds? So to me, I mean, that's about as close as you're going to get to 100%, like realistically in the real world. So just a stat for you guys, 97% of people on that website have given us a favorable rating. I think those are pretty good odds. And that's out of, like I said, I think we might even be closer to 1,200 people now, reviews. So it's a lot. So for what that's worth, there's a stat for you. The American Society for Training and Development, in a study on goal achievement, here's some stats for you. People who just think about a goal, 10% of them succeed. People who commit to someone else about their goal, 65% success. Those who have a scheduled check-in with a coach / accountability partner, 95% success. That is the coaching effect in action. So, oh, look, your other child just wanted to come say hi.
I'm being attacked.
For anybody listening, not watching, because I know some of you watch or listen to this podcast, Brad's dog just viciously attacked him. Like vicious. Like Brad's got blood on his face now. No, I'm just kidding. But so does that surprise you? 95%?
No, not really, to be honest.
Here's another one for you. Dominican University study, Dr. Gail Matthews. The study looked at 5 groups of people. Those who just thought about their goals. Actually, I think it's 4. Anyways, those who just thought about their goals, those who wrote them down, those who shared them, and those who had ongoing check-ins with the coach. The top performing group, people who wrote goals and sent weekly progress reports to a coach, had a 76% rate compared to just 43% in the control group. So just a couple stats for you guys on the actual success rate of people who have a coach. It does work. And I had some other stats, I don't know where, I must have closed the tab. I had some other ones that I was going to share, but you get the point. I think it's a pretty powerful thing. And like I said, with the fact that when you go online and look at our reviews, 97%, I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty proud of that. I think that's pretty awesome. And I think it really does go to show that, our average clients also stick around with us for a good chunk of time because they realize that once not only do they hit their initial goals, but they're like, yeah, there's still more to learn. Like, I think that really does speak to what we do as coaches and how we educate people. And a lot of people end up coming back to coaching, which is not to say that they failed or that they reverted back to their old ways. It's like a lot of people come back because they're like, dang, I got new goals and I know the benefits of coaching and I want to get a coach again because it helped me immensely the first time around and I want help with this next round. So overall, it's an incredibly powerful thing. And the stats speak for themselves. The proof is in the pudding, guys. So
one of the most interesting conversations I've ever had with a client, it was somebody, so like I randomly just get Facebook messages all the day from people who are clients and like, hey, how do I re-enroll?
Yeah.
And so somebody asked me and I was just chatting with them and I was like, hey, maybe just tell me why you want to come back. And her response was, I know I can do this on my own, but I am the best version of myself when I'm in coaching. Why would I not want to spend as much time of my life being the best version of myself as I can be? And I was like, if you just think about, let's say you are 1% better when you're working with a coach every day. Think about what that is compounded over 30 years.
Cumulatively, yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty wild. And so you got to think about, here's an analogy. Let's say you worked a minimum wage job and you were happy with that job and you were making, I'm just going to make the math easy, $20 an hour, right? So you're making $40,000 a year and you work for 30 years, right? 1.2 million in lifetime earnings. Now let's say, you're working that minimum wage job and the manager there was a mentor for you, right? And he was like, hey, I know you're happy. I know you're crushing this job. Why don't we, after work once a week, let's just go, let's grab dinner. I'll pick up the check, but let's just work on some skills. Let's just practice management skills, blah, blah, blah. 2 years later, he gets a management job and he's making $30 an hour. Now $30 an hour is $60,000 a year. right? 60 grand a year times 30 years is 1.8 million. And so these small things, like when you extrapolate them over your lifetime, like they end up becoming these huge value adds. So if you think if you're in your, even if you're in like your 40s and 50s and you have 30 years left, like having your habits, your lifestyle, your decisions be 5-10% better every year, like that's a way different quality of life in your 70s and 80s than it would be if you're on the current path you're on. And so you also have to think about the effect of like the compound interest you get from being a little bit better every day.
For sure. That's a great way to look at it. We did get a comment from Michelle. She says, "You're never getting rid of me."
Good.
That's okay. We don't want to.
We'll lock you in a lifetime contract.
Yeah. This would be a good time for any questions you guys have. Pop them in the chat. We'd be happy to answer. If you don't have any questions, that's okay. I'm not going to be too heartbroken, but if you want your questions answered, fire away, because we're finished early. I didn't have that's really all I had to go over, unless you wanted to add anything else. So we can kind of round out the last few minutes here with questions, or we can just chat about what's going on in the world. Bradley, anything that we did you see the epic Timberwolves collapse? This is probably where people tune out, but they played a game yesterday and they lost to the Milwaukee Bucks, and now they have to have a play in to get in the playoffs.
I just saw the headlines. I did not see the highlights.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. Have you since while we're waiting for comments?
I just feel like that team has been so mismanaged.
Well, they have. I like Chris Finch, but I'm not sure he's the right guy for. But I don't know. Who knows? They've had decades of poor play. Has there been any update on, just so for anybody that didn't watch the last episode, Brad believes there's things under the pyramid that don't actually exist, like giant structures. So Bradley, have you heard anything about that to confirm your
No, I've been
suspicions?
too busy. I've been too busy working.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that whole thing was a hoax. And I'm sorry if anybody bought into the whole pyramid thing, but yeah, it's just it's entertainment. It's entertainment, people. That's all it is. I don't know. I got nothing else. You got anything?
There is no evidence you can give me to change my mind.
That sounds like a.
It was it reminds me of some debate I heard a long time ago, and the guy was like, he asked the question. He's like, "What evidence do you think you could give the other side that would actually get them to change their mind if you had it?" And the guy's response was, "Why would me giving evidence to somebody who doesn't value evidence change their mind?" And I was like, "Oh, dang."
Bingo. Yeah.
So, Dylan, I do not value your evidence to the contrary of my belief.
That's fine. It's more fun to believe that there are giant structures under the pyramids than not. I mean, it's the same reason that I want to believe.
I mean, I was an X-Files kid. Like I want to believe. You want to hear a really weird fact?
No.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
When I was a kid, one year for Christmas, I got my first CD player with my first CDs. And you know what the 2 CDs I got that were the first albums I ever owned?
What year was this?
Oh my God. Mid-90s.
Tell me one of them's Limp Bizkit.
No.
No, I don't know.
The Men in Black movie soundtrack. And the X-Files soundtrack. That's how weird of a kid I was.
Know that. What was the X-Files soundtrack? I don't understand. Was it just instrumentals?
Dude, I think so.
It must have been. Wow.
Like, I'm pretty sure. I gotta look this up. It might have been 1998. I might have been 10 years old. Yeah, this was it. I'm gonna post this in the comments here for you. You can read it.
I'm probably not gonna read that. Yeah, I love it.
Amazing.
Hey, I told ChatGPT to give me your best dad jokes. It said one of them was, I asked my dog what's 2 minus 2. He said nothing.
Nah. That's
These
good.
are so bad. What do you call somebody with no body and no nose?
Nobody knows.
Lame.
What do you call a deer with no eyes? No idea. What do you call a deer with no eyes and no legs? Still no idea.
Stop it.
That's from Jurassic Park. You should know this.
I told my wife she was drawing her eyebrows too high. She looked surprised.
What do you call a
what do
cow with no legs?
ground beef?
Yep. What do you call a cow with only 2 legs? Lean beef.
What was it?
Lean beef.
I'm not sure I get that one. Are you saying lame or lane?
Lean.
Oh, lean. I'm sorry. I got you. Okay. Got it. What do Alexander the Great and Winnie the Pooh have in common?
They both have the as their middle name.
I told you that one, haven't I? I swear I've told you that.
No,
Damn
it's
it.
just pretty obvious.
No, it's not. I've told you that. Yeah, they both have the same middle name. All right. Well,
Cool. That's all I got.
We got work to get to. So appreciate the viewership. Thank you for everyone who watched. We will not have an episode next week, by the way, because I will not
Dylan's
be here.
on vacation.
Yeah. So you guys will have to do without one, but we'll be back the following. So
Toodles.
Until then, peace out and enjoy this new outro music. Goodbye.